It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your host and Game Master, Tyler Hapney. I have Game Mastered over 200 sessions of Cyberpunk RED and Dungeons and Dragons combined, and this podcast is a way for me to share my thoughts on the various aspects and things of each system, setting, and lore, what have you. It's pretty much just whatever. But today we're going to continue on with Cyberpunk RED. We're going to talk a little bit about some more classes or some roles in the game. We've been kind of doing this sort of series for a bit now, but I think I think we got to continue it. It is not stopping until we reach the end of these of all these different roles, because there's so many and they're all so very interesting. Today I'd like to talk about the Lawman role, which is I honestly, if we're going by my friend group, probably one of the more slept on roles. It's definitely up there, I'd say, in terms of usability and viability, but one of the main, I guess, drawbacks people have is the name. And we'll get all into that, I'm sure. But for now, let's talk a little bit about what a lawman actually is. So in the cyberpunk world, in Night City, the lawman is essentially a character who's supposed to represent the law. Which in Night City usually means, they're corrupt, dirty, or edge runners on their own, just trying to make ends meet, while also simultaneously trying to uphold the law, which in Night City is very difficult to do. So, lawmen have this, sort of special position, if they fully go into their role, where they sort of have to be aware, I guess, on how things are kind of looking and shaping up for their crew legally. They might even be able to help the crew out of particular legal situations, like, maybe they get pulled over by the cops or something, and the lawman's able to use lingo speak or cop, sort of lingo to make it so that things kind of don't go as badly, and they don't have to bribe or do anything to get out of that. But that's just kind of a social aspect of the lawman character. It's also not, I guess, necessarily required. We will, once again, get back into this, sort of looping back around. But what is important is that, essentially, the lawman, their role ability is that they have backup. That's it. They have backup. They can call in people to come in and storm in and start doing crazy stuff to help them out. Usually that, requires a bit of a, don't spam it. It requires a bit of finesse in terms of you can't use it every combat. And it is kind of a thing where it's like, if you keep calling for backup, eventually the people in charge are going to stop sending you out because you just keep getting into trouble. But, backup. That's the whole sort of crucial crux and central component of the lawman role ability. So I'm going to kind of go over the various different levels of backup you can get, and then we're going to talk a bit about sort of why people don't play lawman and what can be done about that. So first things first, when you're just starting out, the backup you get is 4 local rent-a-cops. Then they arrive on foot. They don't have heavy armor other than Kevlar, and they usually just carry heavy pistols. They only have 20 HP, combat number of 8. Generally, these guys are they're Paul Blart running up and helping you out. Probably not what you want to bring along for a fight with a corporation or anything like that. But that is a possibility. You get 4 local rent-a-cops on the scene. They have some pretty, I'm not gonna lie, garbage combat numbers. But they are extra bodies for you to handle. Now, most people will be starting at the second one, rank 3 and 4, or at rank 4, where the combat number goes up by 2, so it becomes 10. Stopping power is still 7. HP up by 5. These are local beat cops. These guys actually show up in cars, like cop cars. They have the same weaponry and armor as the rank 1 and 2 cops, but they're just a little tougher. More HP, better chance of hitting, stuff like that. Honestly, a pretty decent choice for starting out. I don't typically see anyone really go for the local rent-a-cops when they have the option. It's usually always the beat cops. Next up would be backup ranks 5 through 7. So this is a little bit more involved. So 5, 6, and 7, you get the sheriff's department, 2 local county mounties. They show up in a high-performance ground car, so like a sports car or something, armed with heavy pistols, and here's the kicker, assault rifles, which is definitely a step up from the heavy pistol. I'm surprised they didn't give them very heavy pistols, just for that extra hand cannon factor, but that is fine with me. They have a combat number of 14, so that's 4 more than the last rank. A stopping power of 13, which is 6 more than the previous rank. HP of 35, which is 10 more than the previous rank. So, in generally, the county mounties, you do not want to mess with them. A combat number of 14 is pretty serious, all things considered. I mean, you can start with that out of character creation, but that still requires you to build quite a bit into those sort of, ideas, sort of the skills and the stats. So it's definitely a lot of points to get up to that point in character creation. And it's nice to have 2 extra assault rifle carriers that have combat number 14, because trust me, they're going to be hitting quite a bit. The damage output for the local county mounties has basically doubled or tripled compared to the last 2 ranks, which is crazy to me. County mounties, like seriously, is probably one of the best ones you can get, and that's just 1 rank above start. It's pretty great. Next up, if you go up to rank 8, you get a recovery zone marshal. So this is just 1 guy. However, wow, does he have quite a bit going on. Before we even get into what weaponry he's holding, let's talk about combat number 16. So he's rolling a 1d10 plus 16 to hit, which means he's likely going to be hitting most things, especially if you're going up against, typical corporate security or gangers, which I don't know why you'd want a recovery zone marshal for that, but you never know. Could be a whole lot of them. Stopping power of 15, which is flak armor, 2 more than the previous rank. HP, instead of 35 from the sheriff's department, we now get 50 HP from this marshal. And now on to what they have decided to equip this guy with. They arrive on a super bike, so a super fast motorcycle, with a very heavy pistol, presumably a hand cannon, revolver, maybe even a boomer buster, an assault rifle, a grenade launcher, and of course that flak armor I mentioned earlier, which is, this guy's ready for war. With a combat number of 16 and flak armor, that means your base skills are pretty impressive, to say the least. So, yeah, rank 8 is where we're really getting kind of crazy, and we're not even at the end yet. We still have 2 ranks to go. That's right. The rank 9, 8, 9, and 10 are all their own thing. So, let's get into it. Back up rank 9. You get 2 members of C-Squad, or Psycho Squad, or as they are known in the future, Max Tag. But, that's for our 2077 fans. As for now, these C-Squad heavy hitters will have a combat number of 15, so a little less than the previous rank. However, they have a stopping power of 18, which means they are wearing Metal Gear armor, which, once again, 15 combat number wearing Metal Gear means that their base skills have got to be somewhat pretty impressive. Stopping power of 18 HP. This goes back down to 35. However, remember, there are 2 of them. So I'd say that kind of evens it out, especially considering they have stopping power 18. They will likely be taking most bullets and not ablating their armor. These guys are equipped with assault rifles and rocket launchers. They will arrive from the air in an AV. So they don't even come from the ground. They come from the sky, and they can shoot. I'm assuming shoot from this AV with their rocket launchers. If the landing zone is hot enough, they probably would do that. But generally, I mean, assault rifles and rocket launchers, combat number 15 with Metal Gear, that is insanely impressive. That's enough to turn pretty much any combat on its head. Now, assuming you're at backup rank 9 for Lawman, you're probably running into some pretty crazy combats in general. So maybe this might even be worth it. Finally, the final rank is backup rank 10. This is the National Law Enforcement Interpol FBI Netwatch. So these guys are all, the high quality kind of people. They show up in pairs, so both 2 of them. They show up in an AV4 just like before. Their combat number is 14, stopping power 11, HP 35. So we've actually gone down a little in terms of skill. However, they have very heavy pistols, assault rifles, armor jack. And here's the important part. They will stick around after the conflict and assist in investigating the scene. They're basically going to be your kind of investigation crew, where you can kind of call on them to not only help you in combat, but they have all these other skills that they can use and help you out with. And I think that's pretty important, all things considered. And of course, it is important to remind you that every time you use the role ability, you can pick any number of these that you've unlocked. So let's say I'm rank 10 and I don't want the National Law Enforcement. I'd rather have C-SWAT. Well, I can call that. And I'll likely get it because I'm rank 10, and, that's just how Lawman works. So how does that work? Well, basically, you roll a d10, and if it is your rank number or below, you are able to call backup. You roll a d6 to see how many rounds it takes for them to show up. That's basically how it works. Yeah, the ability for Lawman isn't anything too crazy. However, I think it's still probably one of the more combat-focused characters. I think it's been said before that out of all of the different options in Cyberpunk RED, Solo and Lawman are kind of your more combat-focused characters. I'd also throw MedTech in there, but MedTechs do have the ability to not be combat-focused at all. They can be therapists, surgeons, all that other stuff, but that is for another episode. What is important is, why does my crew not play Lawman that much? Well, I have a couple of theories. For one, no one really wants to be, or at least none of my players really want to be the Law in Night City. I guess they don't buy too much into the whole cop appeal in fantasy. We do have some lawmen who are pretty high up in level. However, for the most part, Lawman is probably one of the least taken roles in my campaign. And I think a lot of that is because it is tied to the law, and people feel like that might constrain their character a bit, which we've clarified does not. And that is because Lawman, the only gist of Lawman is that it needs to have the ability to call backup. You can reflavor Lawman to be anything that can call backup. All right, just consider that. One of the most common things I've seen it used is a Lawman into like a booster ganger, where they're just a squad of random street toughs, and then they can call in sort of backup on that. And that's really interesting. So really, honestly, I think it's important to think of Lawman as more of a class that can call backup rather than a class that is strictly tied to the law of Night City. So just consider, if you're ever going to make a character, consider Lawman, and maybe even consider making them not a part of the law. Like corporate security, a gang of any kind. Like I have one of my players who's a piranha and he's a lawman, so he can call in a bunch of piranhas if he needs it. You get the idea. All that stuff can be pretty easily reflavored so long as the combat number, stopping power, all that stuff are roughly the same, or have the same balance to them. That's the important part. So that is Lawman. I think now we're going to get into our metaphorical monster of the week. And today we are going to be talking about everybody's favorite Maelstrom. Maelstrom is, I'd say, probably one of the longest lasting cyberpunk gangs. Voodoo Boys are awesome, but they've been through quite a few changes. Maelstrom has also been through quite a few changes, but it's still very active as of 2077. So, what is Maelstrom? Well, Maelstrom is technically a maelstrom of a whole bunch of different types of gangs. Basically, Maelstrom comes out of all these different other types of gangs that were around Night City in the 2010s. And they have all these sort of, there's all these other gangs that have these people that have fallen out for various different reasons. They're remnants or they're survivors of some big thing, and they don't really fit with their old gang. Well, they join Maelstrom, and Maelstrom kind of takes them in, and that's just kind of how it is for the 2010s. It's a lot of the more violent people from all these gangs that have been kicked out of the other gangs, and then... that's just kind of how it goes up until the 2020s when the fourth corporate war happens, and the Night City bombing and everything goes down, refer to older episode for that information. But basically what happened then was a lot of people died. Hammer died, the old leader, leading to this new guy named Crusher. But the basic idea of Maelstrom suddenly became more about... I don't want to say more about cyberware, but a big aspect of Maelstrom became hanging out at the Totentans, which is their club, and basically going out into the hot zone and scavenging all this different cyberware that was, burnt out, and kind of putting all that cyberware on them, no matter how, rough or irradiated it is. It's kind of a rite of passage to do that. They're very hardcore about this cyberware and sort of idea. It says here that actually in the Totentans, they have actually recovered charred, mummified corpses of all their former comrades in the Night City bombing, including Hammer, and they're all now displayed on one of the walls in the ballroom. Which is where the Maelstrom holds court at the Totentans. So that's pretty badass. That's insane. So basically, after that, Crusher goes kind of crazy sometime around 2027 and goes into cyberpsychosis and disappears. He still pops up every once in a while to either assist Maelstrom or harm them. It's kind of hard to tell. He is, however, one of the scariest people in Night City during the time of the Red, and if you ever run into him, I would suggest running away. So that's all kind of going on during the 2030s, 2040s. And then during that time, that sort of period, where they're kind of, trafficking drugs, trafficking all that hot zone stuff, they move shop. They move the Totentans from the hot zone to Watson, which is where it is in 2077. So that's kind of how it happens. That's actually, I believe, a mission that they recommend in Danger Gal Dossier. I could be wrong about the book, but it is something that they talk about where Maelstrom is looking to move to Watson. So after that, we get a whole bunch of time spent in the Watson Totentans. It's pretty much just about the same. They feud with the Tiger Claws, Scavers, Forlorn Hope, stuff, all sorts of stuff. But basically, by the time of the 2070s, we have the Maelstrom we have now, where they're all very much into cybernetics. They're all very insane. Most of them are cyberpsychosis or are on the edge of cyberpsychosis. Yeah, pretty much just one of the most brutal, ruthless gangs in the city. They do some pretty atrocious things. In order to join Maelstrom, they basically load you with so much cyberware that your mind can barely handle it. And if you survive, you're welcome into the gang. If not, they leave you for dead in like a dumpster somewhere. So yeah, Maelstrom, pretty terrible, but at the same time, pretty cool. That is going to be it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. I have been really enjoying this podcast so far. We're on episode 25, if you can believe it. I don't know how much longer I'll be going. Probably quite a while. But once again, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. My name is Tyler Hapney. This has been Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening.